Today I want to leave you with a couple of points. Hopefully an understanding of what mindfulness is, the benefits it brings. I want to tell you about how it relates to our lives at work or in the laboratory, if you're a researcher. An appreciation of the science and the research that lies behind mindfulness. And I want to leave you with a little bit of a taste of a practice. That way you can have the basics to take it home and build your own practice around mindfulness. So here's a picture. And let me argue if it wouldn't be great to have a mind just like that. Clear, calm, bright, transparent, quiet. The truth is that, unfortunately, our minds are most of the time like this, and that's perfectly normal. There's always thoughts, worries, ruminations, or emotions disturbing the underlying tranquility that we all have. Actually, a recent research published by Harvard University shows that almost 50% of the time, our minds are not where our body is. Right? So in other words, we are daydreaming while we are involved in all sorts of tasks. This is actually called mind wandering. It's a specific technical term. And there is a huge amount of evidence that shows that this is related to our perceived happiness, our perceived quality of life, performance at work, as well as measurable well-being and health. So it's quite an important characteristic of our mind. Actually, the truth is that the mind wandering is constantly being stimulated by distractions that our daily life at work or at home bring to us all the time, and especially in the last 2 decades or so, with the advent of cell phones and portable devices and social media. I mean, our attention is being distracted all the time. And you know, there's this myth of multitasking, which is proven not to really exist, right? Our brains are not able to multitask, even though we're asked to do tasks at the same time. So what our minds do in that case, they just start doing things superficially and switching from one to the next. And that brings a lot of stress and a lot of waste of energy. And the result, we're all familiar with, is a difficult work-life balance. Actually, even the word work-life balance is out of place these days, right? Who can make a difference really between what's work time and what's life time? Stress management is there. We're pressed with time. If we're researchers, we're pressed with looking for funds, filling out applications, publishing, traveling to conferences, and then running to the class to teach, and then just meeting students and colleagues and discuss the next research. So tasks are always increasing, and of course also working with teams can pose challenges. So mindfulness can really help with this. It is training for our minds, right? In fact, over half a century of research have clearly shown that our brains can be trained to sustain focus and attention in the present moment. This is something kind of new in the world of research, right? I mean, in the last, if we go back like 30 years or so, this idea of neuroplasticity, which means that the brain can be rewired to learn certain tasks, was pretty new. I mean, we knew back then that you could learn tasks and all sorts of things, but actually rewiring your brain to be more attentive, for instance, is something that was not as well as it is appreciated these days. So hey, here we have a great technique, which we're going to explore today in more details, which can train our minds to be more attentive. Now, a word of caution, though, and that's why I put the picture of the gym there. This is not a quick fix, right? It's not something you just do once and then everything is fine. It's not a pill you can take and you just fix. And all of a sudden you get more attentive and more quiet and less stressed. It does require patience and perseverance, just like the patience and perseverance anyone determined to get in shape would have, right? So you wouldn't expect to go to the gym and walk out fit. Same here. You wouldn't expect to just practice mindfulness once, maybe today in a little practice we're going to be doing later, and then just be attentive and quiet and de-stressed. Now, if, like I said, mindfulness helps to train our brains to sustain attention, well, a great question to ask is, well, attention to what? So here's a list of things you learn to pay attention to as you practice. So you learn to pay attention to feelings, emotions, and thoughts, right? Remember that picture of, all the different things that bubble up in your mind? Well, feelings, emotions, and thoughts are certainly there all the time. Even right now, there are in my mind, there are in your mind. Moods, right? Everyone today has a different type of mood. There may be autopilots, mental patterns, reactions, and certainly ruminations as well. So these things you pay attention to have a proven effect to improve several aspects of the way we relate to the outside world. For instance, clear thinking is one of them. Focus, attention, and concentration. I mentioned that before as well. Patience, certainly. Sleep. You get more energy, right? Because you waste less energy thinking about things that are useless, and you gain more energy to apply it to whatever you're doing in the present moment. Resilience, which is the ability to bounce back, and also positivity and balance, and ultimately also performance and productivity. Now, all of these things have actually been measured by scientists. So there is a measurable correlate to the improvement of these attitudes. And the great news is that the bonus you get is that you get more relaxed and less stressed. Now, the even better news is that feeling less stressed and more relaxed is one of the first things you notice. Even today, after we're going to be doing a few moments of mindfulness practice, you notice you feel a little bit less stressed. It is a bonus. That's why I wouldn't consider mindfulness strictly a relaxation technique. It certainly does that too, but it's not the main aspect of it. Okay, so let me first, before we go forward, tell you a little bit about the scientific basis of mindfulness. So here's the bibliography I took from a recent work on mindfulness research, and I have highlighted in yellow two fundamental works of the 80s that essentially brought mindfulness firmly in the laboratory, and then from the laboratory into the clinical practice. Right? These are the works of Professor Jon Kabat-Zinn, who's known to be the father of mindfulness. Well, he didn't really create mindfulness as it exists for many, many years, but he's the one who turned the practice of mindfulness into a protocol for patients. He started using this for patients with depression, but obviously mindfulness found its way outside of the outside of the laboratory, certainly, and outside of the hospitals as well, to be applied even in businesses and several other places around the world. Now, since many of you are researchers or scientists as a whole, I put a couple of graphs you can easily relate to here. So top left, you see the increase of publications. I've taken this data from Scopus. increase of publications relating to keywords like mindfulness, meditation, and stress reduction. And there is a huge increase in the last years. It's exponential, I would say. If you look top right at the split of which area of research focus on mindfulness, you notice that most of it's into the medical sciences, psychology, but there's also other areas of science that are interested in this. The yellow portion there is engineering, for instance, and you might wonder why engineering. What engineering has to do with mindfulness? Well, think of, for instance, doing maintenance on a skyscraper. Obviously, it is very important to be mindful. I'm not just mentioning that for the sake of it. There are articles that relate to the importance of being present and concentrated as you do very attention-intensive works. Bottom left, you see what are the topics that are driving that increase in publications, and the keywords that you see on the bottom right are mostly meditation, mind wandering, and also Buddhism in some cases, which lies at the bottom of mindfulness. Let me just mention very, very quickly the link that there is between Buddhism and mindfulness. Sometimes you hear the word mindfulness, sometimes you hear the word mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness and meditations are synonymous, and it's certainly the roots of mindfulness are rooted in Buddhism, but obviously mindfulness these days is totally secular, and the work of Jon Kabat-Zinn has been exactly that, to take that out of a tradition. It goes back 2,500 years into a scientific environment. So it's totally secular, and it just borrows some concepts, very basic concepts from Buddhism.